sinners, and saints. Dust off those horns and halos. It's time for Alan After Dark.
How y'all doing, sinners, saints, bitches, sluts, pole smokers, ass munchers, butt lickers, puss lickers, motorboaters, hustlers, prostitutes, hookers, banshees, vampires, goth kids, all of y'all out there. I know you're all listening to me and you're all having a blast, right? I hope I don't have to come over and spank you for not having a good time, but I will do it. You know that, right? Y'all remember when I told you all that I was going to let my beard go back to its natural color and see how people would react and treat me if it was mostly gray? I promised you all that I would keep you updated on what happens with it and what my decision would be. Well, I gotta tell you that I have decided to start recoloring my beard, and I'm having it done by a professional barber who is doing a good job with it. I am going to be changing the color of my beard throughout the summer just for the hell of it. And I guess you know, probably the easiest answer as to why I am going back to coloring my hair is actually how I was being treated as a man with a gray beard. And obviously it wasn't in a way that I was happy with. I felt like, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is how I felt, that I was being treated differently because of the gray hair. I think my appearance made me look older. I'm not saying that I was treated necessarily badly. I'm just saying that I was treated like an old person. Some people offered me a different kind of respect, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. It's absolutely fine. But there are others who I felt like they looked at me almost with pity. Like, look at that old man. What's he doing here? Why is he acting like that? And I thought, well, okay, so now I know on that side, as far as how I'm perceiving people's perception of me, I'm going to try this and see how people react to me having a beard that isn't gray anymore. I do find it funny, though, that last night's happy hour, I decided to do something provocative. I did have my new beard color, and I have, well, I'll call them novelty t-shirts. And you know, there is a baseball team in Japan that, you know, like we have the Atlanta Braves, the Toronto Blue Jays, the LA Dodgers. Well, there's a team in Japan playing baseball that their mascot is the swallow.
I'm sorry, what?
The bird that is called the swallow. So it's like the Tokyo Swallows.
Oh my God.
Well, I have a t-shirt, I have two actually, that say swallows in reference to that mascot. But of course, you get the double entendre. You get the dual meaning, the joke there.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just absolutely stunned that nobody seemed to even notice that I was wearing it last night. Not one comment made or anything. So either people saw it and just thought it was repulsive or didn't notice it at all, or they just didn't think anything about it. And I got to thinking, it's just hilarious that people, we expect them to notice certain things, and when they don't, we're always surprised. I really did think I would have gotten a response to that last night, and I didn't. So maybe I am putting too much into all of this. And maybe I will go back once again to letting my natural hair color, which at this point is a very nice shade of white. It's not that dull gray. It's actually a vibrant white. Maybe I will again, and I probably will when I decide to change hair colors, which I will the next time I go back to the barber who did this work. I will request a different type of color. I may actually go blonde. Wouldn't that be a kick in the rubber parts? I'm telling you, Jesus. And I know what all of you are thinking. You're thinking, well, Alan, you're the first one to say that you shouldn't give a rat's ass what anybody else thinks about you. I am that person. I don't. But I think I've also told you that the one thing that really gets under my skin is somebody that looks at me with pity or some sort of like, what to call it, some sort of that I'm less than equal to them. That really does irritate me. And I know that the whole world, but this country in particular, there is true discrimination against older people. In the news the other day, did you see that report where one of the job employment services, they were using AI, and their AI system was kicking out anybody who was over the age of 40? They wouldn't even be considered for most of the jobs. What the hell? I mean, if you're not going to let people have a decent retirement with Social Security and decent health care and good public transportation, what are we supposed to do but work? Honestly, people. So you really think an older person can't do the job? I get what part of it is. I know. I've heard people whisper it. They won't say it out loud because discrimination against seniors is illegal. But they'll say things like they'll need more health care. That'll push up our health care cost. They could be sick a lot more. They could miss more days. And I always want to chuckle at that because in my experience throughout all the jobs I've had, there's no one set group that happens to. I've seen people in their 20s miss as many days or more for illness or just laziness as I would somebody in their 40s or somebody in their 60s. Come on, people. We've got to get rid of a lot of these fucking stereotypes and these attitudes toward people that are different than us. I don't know if I've ever told you all, but I was in Shanghai, China, and I was with a coworker. It was a Friday night, and we were at the hotel lounge. The coworker I was with, let's call her Joanne, she was drinking a lot of wine and having a good time. I was trying to take it a little bit easier on the drinking because we had a full weekend of sightseeing we were going to do. And I didn't want a bad hangover the next day when we're going to be out here traipsing around in hot weather. So she brought up the issue of us getting older. And she said, what would you do if we were to lose these jobs? And the first thing I said was, I'll either have to start coloring my beard or shaving it all off because I know right away people in interviews, they see you with gray hair and they automatically think you're too old for their job. I was lucky that I graduated college later in life, so when people see my graduation date, they will think that I'm actually younger than I am. And isn't that just pathetic to think about how we are judged? You're talking about somebody's life there, somebody that needs a job. It's really, truly unfair. I mean, we've all experienced it. I know that I've been treated differently at some places because I was gay and they knew it. And there's always people who hate gay people because their Bible tells them to, or their minister tells them to, or their own insecurities. But that's what I'm getting at. You can say anything you want to about me. You can call me any name. You can judge me for having gray hair, black hair, purple hair, whatever. You can judge me for walking slowly or the kind of clothes I wear. But if you're these people that could affect my job, my welfare, my security, then I've got a fucking problem with it. And I think you all should have a fucking problem with it too. You know, it's the same way with younger people. I know people who believe that younger folks right out of college won't work well. They've got attitude. They come in with a false sense of how a business works and runs. And they're always looking for this power trip to climb up the corporate ladder faster. And I'm sure there are, but there are just as many that are just trying to get their foot in the door because guess what? Young people need to make a living too. I don't know of anybody who's gotten around that other than the fucking super billionaires who, for the life of me, I have to wonder why they continue to work when you have all that you could ever want, except for the fact that they just like the power. They just want more and more power. That's it. But my God, give me a couple of $1 million. Hell's bells. I'm moving somewhere where it's always warm and I can chill. I'll have the simplest lifestyle. I'll just live the rest of my life in peace, doing what I want to do. That sounds like a perfect life to me. Although, in a discussion with friends, they asked me, well, where would you go? And that is a good question because all I can say is I want to go somewhere where it's always warm. I'll have to kind of elaborate on that, right? I'll have to think about it, do research and make some decisions. But yeah, if I could afford it, I'd be living in Southern California. I swear to God, I would. I love California when I've spent time there. And I hope to spend a whole lot more time sometime in the future. Well, if the United States isn't totally engulfed in a civil war and we finally have peace, maybe I can do that. Who knows? I'm sounding almost nostalgic, aren't I? I'm sounding like I'm deep in thought and in one of those kinds of moods. And I guess I am. And part of the reason is that I heard that a former classmate of mine passed away. We were in elementary school together, and he may have started high school, but he dropped out. His family lived not too far from where I lived. And it was a surprise to hear about him dying. He was just about a year older than me, but we were in the same grade. And I started thinking about his life and his legacy. And that applies to everybody. He was one of the mean kids in school. He was a bully in a lot of ways. And strangely enough, he never tried to bully me. And I guess it's just because we knew each other. We rode the same school bus and we lived not too far from each other. So maybe that made a difference for him. It's so funny how I was talking to my mom about it when I pulled up his obituary and looked at it. And I just told her, and this was off the cuff, I just said, the picture they picked of him, he was wearing a muscle shirt and he had dark sunglasses. I have a feeling they didn't really have any pictures that would have fit for an obituary other than what they provided. And I have to say, he looked a whole lot different in that picture than the way he did when we were kids. I know that probably sounds like a stupid thing to say because we all change throughout our life. We don't look exactly the same, but there's always some sort of semblance to the way we look. I mean, I know a lot of my classmates do look the same, but just older. I had the experience one time. I was at a restaurant on the north side of town, and I was with my boss, and we were just kind of having a late dinner and some cocktails, and I noticed that this woman at another table kept staring at me. I was like, what in the world is she looking at? And do I have a booger hanging out on my nose or my pants undone or something under the table? What's she looking at? I just noticed her throughout our meal that she continued to look over, glances and things like that. And then finally, I guess when we got finished with dinner and we just had our drinks, she comes walking over and I'm like, oh God, she was within about 5 feet of me and I recognized her. I was like, oh, it was one of my classmates that I went through elementary and high school together, all the way through to our graduation in high school. And it was just a surprise, but it took her getting that close to me before it rung a bell who she was. The irony of that is she never was really that nice to me in our high school years. She was in her elementary days, but I never told you, we only had elementary school and high school. We didn't have a middle school when I was going through those horrible years. The irony of this woman who was my classmate, she is the one I've been talking about whose brother I kind of discovered on one of the hookup apps. He is gay. I don't know if she knows that or not, but just the irony of that. I didn't know he was back then when this incident happened, but it was just a surprise seeing her. She was Miss Cool. She was the athlete. She was very popular. And seeing her like a middle-aged woman who had grandkids was a bit of a surprise. But she said to me that she recognized me right away, that I hadn't hardly changed a bit, which I feel that I have. But, that was interesting. I don't know about you guys. Do you all attend your high school reunions? I attended one and I said never again. I just was so, I don't know if the word is aggravated, but I was just so annoyed by so many of my classmates who were trying to brag about what they were doing and how successful they were. And one of them that I always had a crush on, we're all kind of casual. I'm wearing jeans and a polo shirt, and he comes in a 3-piece suit. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, we're just here at this little country club out here in the middle of nowhere, drinking some booze and eating a really bad dinner. What the hell? And I just thought they really are in my past. They have no bearing or weight on my life now. I don't know about you guys. Do you have any friends that you still have from high school? I don't. And I've put that all behind me. I don't want them in my life. I don't actually enjoy all the time remembering my times with them because there weren't very many good ones, to be quite honest. And why would I want to have them back in my life now? You know what? Maybe it would happen. I highly doubt it. And the woman I just described at the restaurant, she lives here in the same city that I do. But fortunately, she lives on the north side and I live on the west side, and never the twain shall meet. I should have been talking about dick tonight instead of all this mushy, nostalgic stuff, but I have to get this off my chest, you know. Oh, especially since nobody's going to come on my chest. Well, maybe later. Speaking of which, I have to talk about something that came up in happy hour the other night, mostly because my friend Robbie said I should talk about it. So, Robbie, I know you're not listening, but here we go. We were talking about different kind of sexual but not penetrating acts that gay men do. And he just said this word, docking. He says, have you ever done that? And I'm like, what? And do you all know what this is? Have you ever heard of this term, docking?
What is this?
Once I knew what it was, I've seen that in porns, and I think I've engaged in it one time in my life. But if you don't know, docking is a sexual act where at least one of the men in the act has a foreskin. Maybe both do. But it's where you basically overlap your foreskin over the other guy's penis and back and forth. So you're sticking your dick in, touching the head of their dick with your head, and their foreskin, or your foreskin, goes over theirs and back and forth. That's called docking. This has nothing to do with this week's episode. I'm just doing it because Robbie said I should. So, Robbie, there you go. Some of the other guys who do listen will tell you that I brought it up. So, there. Gotcha. Wham-a-lamma ding-dong. Bang, bang, bang. Hoo-ha. If you knew all of your friends' kinks and their proclivities when it comes to sex, would you all still be friends? Is there anything someone could tell you that they do sexually that would totally, repulse you? I'm curious about that. There's really nothing. I mean, there's one thing that we could talk about that I don't think I want to, but I don't think it's as prominent as people have said it was. But yeah, if we're talking about bodily functions that are not piss, pee-pee, urine, then I would have a tremendous issue with it. I would not be able to handle that. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? I mean, I know I should be just blunt, right? Okay, I'm talking about scat.
Wait, what?
Scat. Is that really a thing? I mean, seriously? I've heard that some people are really into that, but my God and baby Jesus help us. I just think that just makes me want to vomit thinking about it. But you know what? If you're a consenting adult and that's what you all want to do, have at it. But please get your tetanus shots, your hepatitis shots. Make sure that you're protecting yourself from other illnesses that could totally stem from that shit. Oh, no pun intended. Oh, Jesus Christ. I can't believe I've gone down this path. Oh, my God. But you know what? There's no such thing as normal. We've talked about that before. Everything that we do, we consider normal. Everything everybody else does, we consider not normal. Right? I'm sure that there's people who love ass munching. I'm not that big on it. I love sucking dick. Maybe there's people who aren't that big on that. It's just the way we're made, right? It's just how it all evolves and rolls out of us as we get on up in age through puberty up into our tough years, the 30s. Oh, God, I miss the 30s. But it was just so recent that I shouldn't miss them that much. Should I? Did that even make sense, what I just said? Jesus Christ, I don't know. I am sitting here trying to chill, hanging out with you guys, talking some nasty ass shit though. What the hell? But I'm hoping you're all having fun and we're getting to chill, because I'm chilling like a villain. And I just was desperate to put that in there for some reason and maybe distract from that last segment that we just talked about, because it's horrifying to think about that again. I may have nightmares about it, but that would be a first. Oh my God. But speaking of which, I have been having horrendous nightmares. And I have this, it's hard to explain, but I'm going to try here. I have a recurring sort of nightmare, but it's right there on the fringe of just being a dream / nightmare, where, like, for example, let's say that I am supposed to be at work and I've gone to lunch and I'm trying to get back to the office and I can't find my way. So it's like getting lost and wandering through this maze of places, desperately trying to find my way back to wherever I'm supposed to be. Sometimes I'm supposed to be going home, and I'm like wandering through this huge maze that's like a mall with the weirdest kinds of stores and things. I've been having that dream now, that recurring dream, a lot in the last few months. But there was a stretch here this year that I was having a nightmare every night of the week. My nightmares are graphic beyond belief. I'll give you an example. This was the dream, okay? So I'm in bed asleep and I hear my mother scream and I'm like, what in the hell was that? And I realize that my dad is standing over me and he rams a knife into my chest and I can see my hands being torn by the blade as I'm fighting with him trying to get it out of my chest. Now that's some fucked up shit. Especially since I haven't lived at my parents' house for over 20-something years, God. But I've been having nightmares like that. The most horrific thing you can think about, seeing people being beheaded, seeing the most horrific violence that you can think of in your dream world. Now, I get it. It's got to do with everything that's happening in this country, with the disgusting, corrupt, pathetic, ignorant, idiotic leadership we have, beginning with the orange turd. God damn, that is just the most corrupt, fuck-faced, bitch-headed orange clown that you can think of. So blatantly corrupt. No, we're not getting into that tonight. We're not. But I know that all the turmoil that they are causing is not helping my own psychology. I am struggling, and I think a lot of people are, especially if you are a gay person and how the trans community is being treated, but the gay community in general. We fall under diversity, equity, inclusion policies, and companies are dropping them just to satisfy this fucking crazy lunatic who threatens everybody. God, just can't wait for this to be over. I can say, woohoo, I am going to happy hour tonight. Oh, that might sound kind of strange for me saying it, but I'm actually recording on a different night, a night that I would not usually be going to happy hour. So I am looking forward to staring at the latest and greatest bartender that's there. He's young and he's pretty to look at. And that alone is worth going to happy hour. And I might have some supper too while I'm there. Who knows? Maybe pork sword is on the menu. Or do we call it tube steak? Or is it just dick? Oh well. Go with whichever one works. Oh wow. That time just flew by, didn't it? And I'm so glad that we got to spend it together. I hope you had fun and were entertained, and maybe, hopefully, you didn't throw up. But if you did, my apologies. We'll do better next week. Just remember, take life by the balls and be real. We'll see you soon.